quick update video of the system. It is showing a lot of promise. 12-volt battery running the mini magnifying transmitter, consuming 0.39 amps. Battery voltage is steady at 13.30. We are feedbacking the power from the power takeoff coil back into the battery, and things seem stable, so I'll attempt to run a load and we will see what happens if we recharge back up. So we will see what happens. And while this is occurring, we still have phenomenal wireless power effects. And the exact way to build this is in the video description, so there can be no question. Full detail how to build it in the description. Look inside. Check the last video too. So we're feedbacking power from the outer takeoff coil back into the driving battery. And our voltage meter is hooked up there to read our voltage. Current meter in series, reading the current. We will now disconnect the load, see if we recharge back up. And I was doing this testing before and it did. Running the load for a while will create an energy debt that the high Q coil will then have to replenish. And the absolute key to getting it to work this way was the insertion of the two ferrite rods in the center. And yeah, we're back up. 13.30 volts. We'll run the load again. That's a 5-watt load. We'll run it for 1 minute. So we're going to run it till 3 minutes 30 seconds. And the full description, how to exactly build this thing, will be in the video description. And we're coming up on 3 minutes 30 seconds. I will disconnect right now. And we'll watch what our battery does. And this was made possible due to the refined energy synthesis work. And much more longevity testing is needed of this to see how long it will last and if it's fully stable, because this is the new constructed design. And the future design will probably use Litz wire for the two bucking coils on the transmitter. Probably 26 gauge Litz wire. And we're already back up. Over to the test again for another minute. Can make the connection. There we go. So 536, I will stop it. And that's a 5-watt incandescent. I'd like to do this test 3 times. And again, the key to get this to work is it's a 416 scale model reduction that's mathematically perfect of Tesla's magnifying transmitter, and the special 2-part receiver coil builds immense reactive power in the inner coil. The outer coil is the power takeoff coil that goes to a bridge rectifier that then runs your load, that then recharges the driving battery, and you run your load from the tap right there. So I believe we went over a minute now on that test. I'll disconnect. We'll see what happens. And the refined energy synthesis work allowed us to really figure out how to convert reactive power into real power by phase shifting it 90 degrees with the correct capacitor value in parallel on the inner coil that accumulates the reactive power. So it's a solid state version of phase shifting power instead of needing a mechanical means to do it, like in a generator. And keep in mind, when all this is going on, crazy wireless power effects still exist near the device. So, back up to 13.30. We'll do a test again, running the light bulb. Here's a look at it. It's actually 4 watt. Incandescent. I always struggle to hook it up and film one-handed. I don't want that to short out. God damn it. Anyway, we'll try that again. So we'll go to 8:30. And again, read the full video description. Check the last video too. Ground connection. And here's the effects. Still present. It's like magic is in the area. Better look at everything. And I believe we hit 1 minute. I'll go to 8:50 because I'm not sure if we hit 1 minute. I want to be extra sure. While that's going on, we'll do a field check of the area. Immense reactive power field. Transistor's heatsink is cool because the 2 ferrite rod, the insertion of the 2 ferrite rods to fully tune the system. Good look at it again. Exact description of what's going on is in the video description. Those 2 ferrite rods were essential. Power consumption from the driving battery going into the transmitter. Voltage of the driving battery. The power takeoff coil is feedbacking its power back into the battery through that rectifier. Disconnect now. We'll see what happens. And that was actually pretty quick. I'm going to do that test again. And that is a 4 watt load lit to full intensity. Something else that's weird too is the battery accumulates immense amounts of power in the plates that it has too, I think. It accumulates an immense wireless power field around itself that can probably be tapped into with the correct receiver coil on top of it. That'll have to be explored too, but why bother when the larger receiver coil, the larger two-part receiver coil that sits over it, is working so well? Why bother complicating it and adding extra parts? The scaled down perfect model of the mini magnifying transmitter is working very well. We will do a test again. And again, this was all made possible due to refinements of the energy synthesis work from Ken Wheeler, Eric Dollards, and Charles Steinmetz. The books the works was taken out of and refined from was 4-quadrant representation of electricity, waves, discharges by Steinmetz, and there was one other, I can't remember the name, but I'll list it in the description. So we'll run that for a while. We'll run that for another minute. And everything here was perfectly calculated for maximum performance. And the 2 ferrite rods that sit in the center of the device was absolutely essential for achieving these effects with the tuning. And full intensity on the load. We will disconnect it now. Watch what our battery does. Just don't want things to fall. Damn it. I have a screwed up alligator clamp and it doesn't like to clip things. There we go. So, again, the system is a miniature model of Tesla's magnifying transmitter, working perfectly. It's 416 times smaller. The principle of how it works is the transmitter creates the highest amount of field tension possible in the smallest space possible as efficiently as possible. And then what we do is we build a receiver coil that's 2 parts that sits over it like a resonant cage. The inner part of the receiver coil, being the gold 16 gauge wire, is a sympathetic resonator that builds up immense reactive power, and you can't tap that reactive power directly, which is what we discovered from our refined energy synthesis work. You have to build a power takeoff coil over the reactive resonator coil, and that power takeoff coil acts as a flywheel that will be able to do work and recharge the driving battery. The diodes installed are UF 4007, and the equations we discovered from those 3 books allowed us to refine the energy synthesis equation and create this. So now we will hook up the load again. So what the outer part of the receiver coil does is it turns the immense amount of reactive power in the inner part of the receiver coil into real power, and it does that by the correct capacitor value here, phase shifting the power by 90 degrees, which allows for that effect to happen that we solved with our completed energy synthesis equation. And keep in mind, when all this is occurring, we still have phenomenal wireless power effects and a huge bubble of influence around the device, because resonant power phenomena creates multiplicative field-like effects and has magic-like properties. So we're doing multiple longevity testing of the system, and the 2 ferrite rods I put in the center were essential to tuning the device. And these meters love to shut off quickly. Immense field tension. The immense field tension is around the coils and the battery, and even slightly present in the ground wire. Quick look around the room / lab. This is what I use to recharge the driving battery when I'm done testing, but I don't think that'll be necessary anymore. Good look around the area. Should actually move these over here, make it look a little neater. So, I think that was a long enough test. We will disconnect now. We'll see what happens. Then I'll break the system down and give you a good look at everything. Might do one more test for a minute or two. So this is just phenomenal. And again, the wireless power effects are there and present regardless if you run a load, recharge the battery, or whatever you do. They're loadless wireless power effects. And that's made possible from the earth ground connection. These meters love to shut off. And I'll do one more test once we hit 13.30 and disassemble everything and show you how dead simple it is and explain it again. And I might sell these as kits. I haven't determined the price yet. A lot of effort and work went into it, so it's going to be a very expensive kit, just because of how finely tuned everything has to be, but it's relatively straightforward, and the 2 ferrite rods really help you tune it, get it in tune. Those are essential to get it properly tuned, is the adjustable ferrite. And one is a short, stocky R40C1 FERRITE Rod, and the other's a long, thinner R40C1 FERRITE Rod. The longer one's a 200mm by 10mm. So I'll run this again for another minute or two, and we'll disconnect it, and I'll disassemble everything and show you everything. So, it's the first test of the new system being documented for a video diary. We'll go to 1930. Also, too, these are all the previous models over here that didn't make the cut. And I have a receiver coil buried in here somewhere. So, this one's in perfect resonance with this guy, transmitter. So when I do this, we should have mild power flow. Which we do, you can see. Actually, I'm lit up just being in this whole area. And this thing also blew my oscilloscope. I'll show that. I can't even get a reading anymore. Not even when I make a ground loop on it or anything. I can't even get a reading at all. It's completely dead, so I need to get a new one. Just having that thing near the device blew the oscilloscope. But anyway, disconnect the load now, and we'll watch what happens. And I can only record for another 4 more minutes before I run out of space on my phone and have to delete a bunch of crap, but that's plenty of time. and these results are phenomenal. Again, the device is a 416 times scale model reduction, mathematically perfect version of Tesla's magnifying transmitter, with the outer receiver coil being 2 parts, and through our perfected energy synthesis equation, we can convert reactive power into real usable power now. So that was the breakthrough. Thank you to Ken Wheeler's work, Eric Dollards' work, Charles Steinmetz's work, and all the other titans of old. Their work really was groundbreaking and allowed this transmitter to exist. Future upgrade plans are to transition it to a faster transistor, being the BUV or BUL49D, and eventually a MOSFET. So now I'm going to disconnect everything and shut it off. Give you another look around everything. So we're now going to disconnect the system, and I'll hold this in my hand, this little receiver light. You'll see that it's on. Just being near the area. I'm going to disconnect power from the system. Everything is now disconnected. Give you a look at everything. Get the meter out of the way. Meter's out of the way. Ferrite rods will be lifted up. And the ferrite rods are mildly warm. That's interesting. In fact, I actually want to get a quick battery voltage real quick on video. .33 volts on the battery. Very good. Put that up here. Look at the battery. Look at the transmitter. I'm going to disconnect the wires. Look at our bulb. I can focus in on it. It's a 4 watt 12 volt incandescent. Look at the special receiver coil. 2 parts. Inner coil builds up immense reactive power, and you can't use that power directly. The outer coil acts as a power takeoff coil or flywheel, and the capacitor here corrects the phase angle by 90 degrees and converts that reactive power to usable power with the outer part of the receiver coil. And you saw the results of what it did for yourself. My ground connection goes to my heater. Right down there. The negative lead passes through the meter in series with the battery. I'll disconnect. System will be fully disassembled. Black power lead is over here. Look at the transmitter. Mild heat on it. Heatsink is cold. Coils are mildly warm. And the warmth is due to the immense reactive power the system builds. Other meter. In fact, I'll put my other meter over here. Get all the crap off the board. Another good look at the coil. Look at the transmitter. Full description how to build it in the video description, along with links to our energy synthesis book that is free. It's the condensed version. Both coils, L1 and L2, are 24 gauge, wound in the opposite direction to each other, and the system is built as neat as possible, as neat as humanly possible for the best performance. A flyback diode is added between the base and collector to speed up switching of the device, and basically I twisted the 2 wires together too to make it as neat as possible. And I'll lift up the board. It's just a test board, so move it anywhere we want. And yeah, that concludes the video. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, join the Patreon, read the video description thoroughly, and download the new book and check out the equations.